Hi, y'all. Welcome to another edition of Fire Nation TV, Chapter 78. And this one is called Pure Evil. Welcome to Pure Evil, the Devils of Human Trafficking. And that's what I want to talk about with this episode. It's been a little while. I've been teaching Bible study at my church. I'm teaching it just like I would preach a sermon, So I'm really getting good practice in. So if it's ever time that God want to put me before people to minister, which some of us minister each and every day and don't realize it. Sometimes I don't even realize it. I'm talking to someone about God, and that's actually ministering unto them. So that's just as important as getting up in front of, sometimes that's even better than getting up in front of a big group, because when you're ministering to someone one-on-one, you can sit down and go back and forth with them and answer their questions and really just communicate with them better and let them see your life. So we minister every day. Us men of God got to step up. Women got to get in their positions. Men got to get in their positions. We are definitely in the last days in a fight for survival of souls. And ministers of God, preach the word, preach the Bible, the whole word. Don't be deterred by what they do in politics, about what they say, that, like the other day, I was going down the street after church service on a Sunday morning. And, it was Sunday afternoon then. And I accidentally ran into a gay parade. Yeah, here in my town of Charlotte that I live. And, they said they had, the gays said they had, June was their, supposed to be their Pride Month or something. And this was past June, because this was like a few weeks ago. So they're really trying to just take over and do what they will. They can be naked out there in a gay parade in front of children, when they should be arrested. But because, our society's morals is so bad, especially here in America, they can be out there butt naked in front of children and not get arrested. But if you say something about the gays or say something about Jesus Christ and calling it an abomination, they'll lock you up. That ain't right. The morality of America, that's where we've come to. And what was so good about America, we had the Constitution, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. We could worship our Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. The religion that we know is right and correct. The only religion, Christianity, God, our Lord Jesus Christ. We could worship him. But it's coming a time in these latter days when they're going to come against Christianity. But God, we're waiting on the rapture. So be Holy Ghost filled and prepare for that rapture. And to do it, you gotta be praying every day, continuously, all throughout the day. You gotta pray continuously, all throughout the day. You gotta read your Bible continuously. You gotta fast more. And these are things I gotta work on. I gotta put down the TV remote and pick up the Bible. I gotta put down my phone and pick up the Bible and pick up my hands to pray. I gotta do it more, and it's becoming more and more harder and more of a fight. And the enemy's not letting up. He's in your own household, on the TV, on your phone when you open it up. You walk outside, you see half-dressed naked women, half-dressed women. cussing everywhere. It's just become definitely like a Sodom and Gomorrah, definitely like the days before the flood in Noah's day. And we're at the end time, folks. So let us get right with God. And I tell you this, you got to do more than what you're doing. You think you're doing enough, but you're not doing enough. You got to do more than what you're doing. And you got to give more of yourself to God and less of yourself to yourself, the things you want to do in the world. Less of yourself to the flesh. We gotta turn back to God. It's late in the hour and it's becoming too late. Turn back to God while you got time. Right now, God, his arms are outstretched, want to accept you in. But one day they'll be folded and then you'll face judgment. Come now while his arms are outstretched to pull you in so you don't have to face that judgment. All right. And I want to start off with, I'm just going to read a few scriptures, then get to the video. I've been working on a while. All right. Let me turn to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 12 through 18. All right. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth. And froward means pride. He wrinkleth with his eyes. He speaketh with his feet. He teacheth with his fingers. Frowardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continuously. He soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. And heart that devises wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among the brethren. Okay. And I wanted to read a couple of those. Okay. And let us turn now. We're going to read a little bit from Matthew chapter 18, verse 2 through 7. All right. Matthew chapter 18, verse 2 through 7. And look how Jesus looks out for the children, and you'll know that the children these days, that's innocent blood. God don't like the shedding of innocent blood. That's abomination. That's just, it's wicked. It's wicked. It's supposed to love children. People out here abusing these children, and teenagers and just women and little boys and girls, and it's sad what's going on, and it's pure evil. And these people are not people to me. They're devils and monsters. Yeah, I pray that they can change from their wicked ways, but when they do things like this to the children, pure evil. Pure evil. All right. Matthew chapter 18, verse 2 through 7. And Jesus called a little child unto him and set him in the midst of them and said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall never enter into the kingdom of heaven. Trust God for everything. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Humble yourself. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man by whom the offenses cometh. And let me read that again, that verse 6. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Jesus don't play about his little ones. He don't play about his little ones. And those that believe in Christ, he don't play about you. You as little ones. Definitely. All right, let us get to this video. It's real powerful, real deep, and it's heartbreaking. We definitely got to fight on our hands. And this is what we fight with. We don't got to fight with guns, knives, or bullets. We fight with this. We fight with the word of God. That's what we fight with. Spread this word of God. Bring light and love into the world. Pray. Pray. All right. Let's get to it.
Of our children. And even pedophilia now is being normalized. Something people 10 years ago told me that old day. How dare you even say that? Pedophiles in California, over 7,000 of them were just released from jail after serving less than 1 year in prison. The crimes included, and I quote, child rape, continuous sexual abuse of a child, sodomy with a child under 16, and kidnapping a child under 14 with the intent to commit lewd or lascivious acts. You kidnap my kid and you're raping my kid? This is the worst nightmare of every parent. The worst nightmare should be of every kid. The worst crimes that can be committed. And they didn't serve a full year? When did pedophiles go from the worst of the worst to Sexualizing children is being mainstreamed, and it is being mainstreamed because we are not standing up. Where is your and my church? It has infected every aspect of our society. You see it now all over the place. Broadway now has a play called Downstate. It focuses on a group of men convicted of child sex crimes. I can guarantee you I could write a play about Jesus and it would never, ever see the light of day on Broadway, but this is. The entire point of this play is to see these people not as monsters, as they should be, but with compassion. It's a different choice. No. This used to be a topic all reasonable people could agree on. When we found out that it was happening over in some countries ruled by Islam, we all said, horrifying. Now we're embracing it, and we're not doing it for religious reasons. We're doing it because it feels good. This is monstrous. Monstrous. The monsters that do things to our kids like this do not deserve our sympathy. Quite honestly, I could make a pretty compelling case they deserve the electric chair. And while I will have compassion for them, no. You do not cross this line.
I've seen video content of a child that's the same age as mine being raped by an American man that was a sex tourist in Cambodia. And this child was so conditioned by her environment that she thought she was engaging in play. I've been on the other end of a phone call from my team asking for my help because we had received a call from the Department of Homeland Security telling us that a 7-year-old girl was being sexually abused and that content was being spread around the dark web. And she had been being abused and they'd watched her for 3 years and they could not find the perpetrator, asking us for help. We were the last line of defense. An actor and his foundation were the potential last line of defense. That's my day job, and I'm sticking to it.
Kidnapping children is not what great nations do. We in America are misinformed. Reality shows have warped our idea of what a hero is, or what the truth is.
Men's semen in her body at the border. She was 6. She was 6. They found 30. Let me help you out. 30 men had sex. Didn't have sex. They raped this child. They ejaculated in her body. They took turns on her. She was 6. So for those of you who need an actual layman terms break that down, they raped her to the point they murdered her, and then they left her body at the border. Didn't even give a about throwing her somewhere. Didn't give a about her body being eaten up by animals. Didn't give a about the smell of her body deteriorating. Didn't put her in the ground. Didn't put her in any water. They just left her there after they came in her. 30 of them. She was 6.
I see at least 8 people that are behind buildings and everything watching us, right? This is a super dangerous place. And he says, "You have my money?" I said, "Yeah, I've got your money." Do the 2,000 just like that. Then this is where it got super scary. He said, "Give me your business card." Pulled out one of my cards for my undercover profile, and he holds my card, and he said, and he pulls out his phone. He said, "Now give me your number." So I had to memorize my number that was on that card. If I didn't have it memorized, so he's holding my card and he has his phone out. He says, "Give me your number." So I give him my number. Fortunately, I have my undercover number memorized, right? And boom, he types it in his phone. He says, "Show me your phone right now." I pulled out my phone and he dials it, and fortunately, I was smart enough to have everything all tied together, right? So my undercover phone was tied to my business card. Boom, it rings, and he smiles. He goes, "I like you." He says, "Come here." Now, I would have been dead right there, for sure. He says, "Come here." And he goes over to this black truck that's all lowered and gorgeous, and he opens up the doors on either side, and there's these 3 children that are in the back, scared to death. He says, "You like?" And I said, "Yeah, my boss is going to like that." He says, "I got a whole bunch more." 2 weeks later, it was, we rescued 24 children on that rescue.
My sister was sold into prostitution, and then my dad left me at a store. I became one of the maids, like cleaning the house and cleaning the store. And then a lady came to the shop, and she was a woman who sell the kids to be a prostitute, which I didn't know back then. So a lady came to the shop, and the shopkeeper said, "Do you want this girl? Because I don't want anything to do with her." She was about to take me out of the store, and then amazingly, I believe that it was because of God's plan and God's goodness for my life. Another lady came in, and then they were fighting.
What's going on with men? Why do so many adult men sexually abuse little girls and little boys? Why is that a common problem in our society and all over the world today? Why? Why do we hear over and over again about new scandals erupting in major institutions like the Catholic Church or the Penn State football program or the Boy Scouts of America, on and on and on, and then local communities all over the country and all the world, right? We hear about it all the time. Sexual abuse of children. What's going on with men? Why do so many men rape women in our society and around the world? Why do so many men rape other men? What? Because this isn't about individual perpetrators. That's a naive way to understanding what is a much deeper and more systematic social problem. You know, the perpetrators aren't these, monsters who crawl out of the swamp and come into town and do their nasty business and then retreat into the darkness. That's a very naive notion, right? Perpetrators are much more normal than that and everyday than that. So the question is, what are we doing here in our society and in the world? What are the roles of the various institutions in helping to produce abuse of men, as if men don't have a gender. This is one of the ways that dominant systems maintain and reproduce themselves, which is to say the dominant group is rarely challenged to even think about its dominance, because that's one of the key characteristics of power and privilege, the ability to go unexamined, lacking introspection, and in fact being rendered invisible in large measure in the discourse about issues that are primarily about us. And this is amazing how this works in domestic and sexual violence, how men have been largely erased from so much of the conversation about a subject that is centrally about men and sexual abuse of children, that whole range of issues that I'll refer to in shorthand as gender violence issues. They've been seen as women's issues that some good men help out with. But I have a problem with that frame, and I don't accept it. I don't see these as women's issues that some good men help out with. In fact, I'm going to argue that these are men's issues, first and foremost.
28 children that were rescued, but his son was not there. And I said, Guest, I'm so sorry. He said, if I have to sacrifice my son so that these 28 kids can be rescued, he said, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
¿Pero qué es eso, Laura?
Doctora,
Si tú me dijiste que tú no estudiabas imbécil.
Estúpida.
Pero
¿Y eso
explícame,
que
¿qué es
decía?
eso?
No, si lo
Tú no
decía.
dijiste que estudiabas imbécil.
Estúpida.
Y después
eres.
decía que yo la tocaba.
¿Dónde están tus hijas?
Que yo
¿Qué
era que la
hiciste con la
hostigaba.
niña? ¿Qué tú hiciste con la... Llámame a la policía, ahora mismo. ¿Dónde están las niñas?
Doctora, lo voy a...
¿Dónde están las niñas? Conmigo no te hagas la santa, ni me vengas con la carita de llorar, no lo hagas. ¿Dónde están las niñas?
Doctora, mis hijas están en Brasil, pero no están en ningún
¿Dónde? ¿Dónde están las niñas? ¿A quién le diste las niñas? ¿Cuánto te pagaron?
Doctora.
¿Cuánto te pagaron por las niñas?
Yo no las vendí.
¿Cuánto te pagaron? Dímelo ahora mismo.
Me dieron $500.
$500 por las niñas.
Doctora, pero solamente son 2 semanas que mis hijas van a estar
¿Qué
allá.
seguridad tú tienes de que tus hijas van a regresar aquí?
Yo las llevé, doctora.
¿A Brasil?
Sí, yo las llevé.
¿A dónde?
Un animal es más
¿Con
madre que
quién?
ella.
¿A quién le diste a tus hijas?
Doctora, unas personas que conocí, pero no llevan a los niños a prostituir. Ellos me explicaron que son para animar juegos, pero me dijeron que solamente 2 semanas.
Qué
y me las
estúpida
iban
tú
a
eres.
traer.
Sí, madre.
Doctora, pero...
¿Cuándo fue la última vez que tú hablaste con las niñas?
Doctora, hace 2 días que yo no sé de mis hijas. Doctora, y yo estoy bien nerviosa, doctora. Yo necesito que usted me ayude. Yo quiero saber de mis hijas.
Déjame decirte una cosa.
Si le pasa con mis hijas, tú sabes lo que te va a pasar.
Déjame
a ti.
decirte una cosa. Pues te estoy advirtiendo ahora mismo. Te lo estoy advirtiendo ahora mismo. Empieza a rogarle a Dios ahora mismo de rodillas de que tus hijas estén vivas. Porque la posibilidad de que esas niñas ni regresen a Puerto Rico jamás es alta. Y de que estén prostituyéndolas es súper alta. Y de que las maten para eliminar la evidencia es alta.
Así
¿Estoy
es,
diciendo
doctora.
mentira?
No, doctora.
¿Estoy diciendo mentira? Por $500. A un hijo no se vende por nada. Y tú por $500 rentaste a tus hijas. Tú eres una loca. Aparte que eres una mentirosa que te violó. No, el que trató de violarlo fuiste tú. Qué descarada tú eres. ¿Cómo es posible que tú hayas parido? ¿Cómo es posible? ¿Sabes cuánta gente hay por ahí que quiere un hijo de verdad? Y tú los regalas.
Doctora, yo no las regalé.
Las vendiste por $500, oh pedazo de porquería.
Porque es una basura.
Pedazo de porquería que eres.
Tú fuiste.
Y les voy a contar algo, señores, les voy a contar algo muy doloroso. Está en una modalidad en Puerto Rico ahora. La situación económica está tan difícil que la gente llegan a vender a sus hijos. La van a violar, las van a pervertir y las van a matar por tu culpa.
Le juega a Dios que aparezcan las nenas.
Causa probable para...
No, doctora,
aquí hay que investigar
no,
a ver de qué manera esas niñas se
De
salvan.
aquí se va conmigo, de aquí directamente a la
Y
estación
hay
de
que
policía.
contactar a la CIA, al Interpol.
todo el mundo.
Usted hace,
hoy
yo
mismo.
hago las llamadas
Así
necesarias,
es.
le damos copias de este
Claro.
video.
Por favor, doctora. Doctora, yo
Pídele a Dios que tus hijas no se mueran.
¿Cómo es posible, Laura? Si tú me
Pídele a
dijiste
Dios
vas
que
a estar
no.
familiar.
Y déjame decirte, 5 años que cumplió él por ti no va a hacer nada a lo que vas a cumplir tú. Tú te vas a podrir en la cárcel y ojalá te pudras. Ojalá te pudras, porque tú no vales nada.
Pensé que estaba cuidando
Nada.
a mis hijas y mira,
Nada.
eso fue lo que me juró.
Ok.
Que me echara los cargos yo, mira.
Si la gente supiera lo serio que es lo de las tratas humanas, cuántos seres humanos están robándose, llevándose, niños. Y hay ciertos países más susceptibles, tristemente son países latinos. ¿Sí o no?
Sí, doctora, donde está la pobreza y la necesidad.
Ahí está. Y la vida de estas personas, estas son niñas de 6 años. De 6 años. Esto no es para amenizar fiestas dando caramelitos. Esas niñas las van a destrozar posiblemente. ¿Ok? $500. Se debiera dar vergüenza. Escucha lo que te voy a decir. Aquí va a haber una investigación internacional de todo esto. Yo te voy a conceder a ti todo lo que tú me has pedido si aparecen esas niñas. Si no aparecen, estas son las consecuencias de una cabeza loca como esta. ¿Ok? Les deseo buena suerte. He dicho caso cerrado.
I founded Veterans for Child Rescue specifically to expose the truth about child trafficking inside the United States. At $38 to $50 billion a year, it is at an industrial scale. The American populace cannot combat an attack that we are generally uneducated upon. So I founded Vets for Child Rescue and filmed Contraland specifically to alert the populace to what's really going on. Alfred Kinsey back in the 40s and 50s politicked to normalize child rape, and now we've got an epidemic. So coming from a covert professional background, I realized exposing the threat, compromising their domestic covert operation was the biggest counter I could do as a civilian now. So I appreciate your support for Vets for Child Rescue. Yes, we do other things like run joint ops with law enforcement to arrest the predators, but exposing the threat is job one. Thanks for your support.
I lost my virginity to a pedophile. I was 15, anorexic. He was 58. He was my teacher. For months, he groomed me and then abused me almost every day. Before school, after school, in my uniform, on the floor. Publicly, he described his crimes as awesome and enviable. Publicly, I was silenced by law. Not anymore. I remember him towering over me, blocking the door. I remember him saying, "Don't tell anybody." I remember him saying, "Don't make a sound." Well, hear me now. Using my voice amongst a growing chorus of voices that will not be silenced. Let's make some noises.
This girl, her name is Jenna. She's 14 years old. We've been talking online over text message and even had a phone conversation.
So right now we have the parents of Jenna. Jenna thinks her parents are going out tonight for date night. She thinks my brother is going to be driving, so she's going to get in the car, but she doesn't actually know that. It's all just me. So I'm going to text her right now. Did your parents leave yet? Yeah, like 15 minutes ago. Do you think she's going to go through with this?
No way. Absolutely not. I don't even believe it's her.
Okay.
Probably gonna have friends playing around with her.
What's your address? Alright, is this your house?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Alright. We are here, come out. You don't think she's coming out?
She better not be coming out.
Oh, see a door opening.
Yeah, please.
Yep. I see someone.
Can't believe this.
Yeah. Hop in. He's in the back. Over here.
Jenna, stop! It's your mother and father! Jenna, look, turn around. Turn around. Turn around. How could you dare go into a stranger's car?
What are you thinking? Just explain.
Give me your phone right now. Give me your phone now.
What would have happened if you came out and it wasn't us sitting back here and there were really crazy people back here?
We never would have saw you again.
We watched movies together. We looked at newspaper articles and the news about all these things are real life situations that have happened. And we've discussed them. What, you think it's fine to go try it out on your own?
But what happened if this van would have drove away and it would have been 3 strangers sitting in this car? Huh? What would you have done? What would we have done? We didn't have our daughter anymore.
You understand? You probably thought you were talking to a 15-year-old. You didn't even know what was happening, did you? You just got in like that. You were going with everything I was saying. You understand now. Just never ever do that again. It should teach you a lesson forever. Your whole life.
So this hotel right here is the most ghettoest motel in Albuquerque, and their sign says kids. Like, there's nothing but crackheads and grown-ass adults there.
This is amazing. Where are we meeting Gary?
Turns out he's not here.
Oh.
He had to cancel at the last minute. But wants you to meet someone he works with, and he'll tell you more.
You're not staying with me? I don't think...
Baby, I have to run a quick errand down the street, and we're already late. Don't want to make a bad first impression, right? I know you're mature enough to handle it. I'll meet you right back here when you're done. Just let yourself in, and he'll explain. You trust me, right?
If someone is making you do something you don't feel comfortable with, you can get help. Contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Causing someone under the age of 18 to engage in a commercial sex act, regardless of using force, fraud, or coercion, is human trafficking under U.S. law.
Girl stood up who was trafficked, and she gave her testimony, and she, out in the middle of everybody, called out Joel Osteen. And she's like, if he was sitting here today, basically saying that there's trafficking going through like that mega church, and you're kind of like,
I believe it.
That's so crazy. And to think of all the people,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I think we looked at each other and we were like, it's like not surprising, but it is.
Yeah, not surprising at all.
It's painful almost for those people because you're like, wow, like where is, you almost feel like what is safe? Like where can you go? Like who do you trust?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I wasn't following. Were we watching the same movie? Sound of Freedom is a film based on a true story about a man named Tim Ballard, and he's played by Jim Caviezel. This movie focuses on one particular mission where Tim Ballard and his team end up rescuing a large number of children, straight from the jaws of child traffickers.
Yeah, so ending child trafficking, obviously something that everyone can come together on. Wrong. I'm going to show you some headlines here. Why anti-trafficking experts are torching Sound of Freedom, asked the Rolling Stone. Sound of Freedom, the QAnon-adjacent thriller seducing America. So a very strange take on a movie that you think we would all agree with.
In some of these reviews, they're talking about issues of border control and xenophobia and abortion, and it's like,
oh my gosh.
I caught a trafficking incident because I was walking through the airport and I saw a family, a mom and dad and kids, and they were acting really weird and shuffly at customs. And I was on my phone and I was like, hey, can I go past you guys? And I walked past them, but something made me feel a little guilty for just rushing past them. I looked back and I said, okay, there's something weird about them because they're not moving along, and the son was holding his stomach and it was just off. So I told an agent, hey, they may need some help, go check on them. Agent comes, checks them out, finds out that the parents don't know the correct ages of the kids.
That's scary.
Answers, detain them. Those kids were being trafficked for the Super Bowl that was taking place in San Jose.
Oh my God.
And the son, check this out, the holding his tummy is because he was actually a drug mule and he had swallowed sachets of cocaine.
Oh, wow.
So I'm saying you will never know what could happen. You always want to keep your eyes open.
You gotta pay
Be more
attention.
community and be more family. Be the definition of what that means.
You gotta stay vigilant. That's so sad, man.
Dozens of missing children rescued in Georgia during a sweeping sex trafficking bust. This was a 2-week operation that netted a handful of arrests.
Law enforcement agencies here in Houston are all too familiar with human trafficking. It is a problem that they've been targeting for years.
And tonight, police say the Georgia operation is a reminder for parents to be aware of their children's activities, especially online.
Vincent Crivelli is live in Southwest Houston tonight with this very important message. Vincent?
Chris, that's right. Authorities say that parents need to know with the coronavirus pandemic, children are spending more time online and human trafficking is up. 39 children located and safe after an operation led by the U.S. Marshals in Georgia.
First of all, it's great news, but it's also deeply disturbing that this can still happen.
Founder of Justice for Children and former Harris County Chief Prosecutor Randy Burton.
Sex trafficking like that happening in Houston? Oh, without a doubt. I mean, as a matter of fact, we're considered one of the largest hubs.
And he's sounding the alarm for parents. He says they need to monitor their children's activity online to prevent human trafficking.
We've actually had a 19% increase in human trafficking cases of children here at my agency.
Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen says due to the coronavirus pandemic, children are spending more time online, which is a predator's paradise. If a parent finds something suspicious, what action should they take?
Well, first of all, they should try to document everything, and if it does rise to the level of potential criminality, contact law enforcement.
And he says parents need to vet who their children are spending time with, as well as keep an open line of communication.
They have to be engaged. They have to have that talk with their children.
And Burton went on to say that parents need to remember to be parents, not necessarily friends of their children. Reporting live from the Children's Assessment Center, Vincent Crivelli, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
About a month and a half ago, I was back here talking to one of the little girls, you know, and I told the congressional delegation the same thing, right? We were going to send her to the hospital. And as I got closer to her, I noticed that she couldn't speak. And I asked the medical staff what happened. And the reason she was going to the hospital because she had gotten gang raped. And the reason that she couldn't speak was because she had lost her voice in the process while she was getting raped. Those things hit hard. These kids cross by themselves. Obviously, the parent pays a fee to the smuggler. The cartel member or the smuggler at this point will bring the kid over. We'll bring him to the river. We'll hand him over to the raft. We'll place him in a raft and say, okay, go. When you get to the other side, they'll explain to them, there's going to be an officer. They'll explain what we wear and tell them, turn yourselves into them. These kids, some of them, will tell you the different stories. They'll tell you that they don't have their parents. There's a little girl that I talked to a little while ago. She said that she had lost her mom and that she doesn't have a father. So she's coming into this country because her uncle is going to be the sponsor. So they want to take this little girl is going into the States. And I asked her, what state are you going to? What's your final destination? She said, I don't know. All I know is that it snows there. That's all I know.
This is not.
Look at, he's just like completely lunched over. ¿Cuándo fue la última vez que comieron los niños?
So this is what we're telling you. A lot of times, these children don't belong to some of these people. This is human trafficking. This is
They're not even reacting, huh? You see how they don't react? Their pupils don't even react to the bright light in their face?
No, these kids are drugged.
¿Qué le dieron a los niños?
Here's this. Look at this little sweetheart.
Guys, this is really a reality. This is actually the United States right now. This isn't a third world country. This is the United States, and unfortunately, our law enforcement agencies are out here assisting and abetting in the child trafficking trade, guys. Absolutely, there's like no way that you can call me a conspiracy theorist. There's no way that you can say that we're making shit up. We're out here, guys, living this day after day. Y'all think we do this because we enjoy it? We literally go home with stuff in our head, and seeing this should be upsetting to everybody, whether you're on the left or on the right. This should not be tolerated in our country. He's unconscious.
Oh, he's totally unconscious.
Way that you can call me a conspiracy theorist. There's no way that you can say that we're making.
On here, so we gotta. No, you can't be fucking serious. My eyes better be deceiving me of what. Oh,
my daughter's being raped and sold. How much more worse can it get?
Robin's daughter Kristen was just 15 when she was being sold.
My daughter has a price tag on her. Can you imagine a 15-year-old being a prostitute? I can't consent.
Private investigator Betty Simons has been helping her on her search.
They're stepping into their territory, you know, so we all are taking a risk by being out here.
So if the traffickers do start shooting, what will you guys do? What's the plan?
We're going to take cover, call 911, and defend our position.
In recent years, at least 80,000 children and young people have been forced into sex trafficking in Texas. Houston has more cases than any other city in the whole of the United States.
My son thinks she's the D word.
The D word, you think she's done?
Yes.
And has that possibility of her not being alive, has that crossed your mind?
Of course. Of course. I mean, what hasn't crossed my mind? My daughter's being raped and sold. How much more worse can it get?
I'm so sorry.
I promised her I wouldn't let anything happen to her. So I'm keeping my promise to her. I gotta continue my search.
"54 boys and girls aged 11 to 18 were ushered in for what had been billed as a sex party. They were given candy and drinks and told to wait in this small room.
This little 11-year-old boy, I remember, he asked one of my operatives if they could give him some cocaine or something. He said, they usually give me something because I'm really scared.
By the time the deal was done, the alleged traffickers were set to make $25,000. That transaction was never completed. 25 Colombian special operatives stormed the party, arresting 5 suspects, 4 men and 1 former beauty queen, all charged with child trafficking. The victims, 29 of whom are under 18, were evacuated, given medical exams, and placed in a rehabilitation center where specialists are working to undo the damage.
Right before I got in the boat, we had to walk by this room where the kids were, and they put their hand up. And I touched their hand and see that there's liberation now.
Liberating one child at a time. Elaine Quijano,
You got a car seat for them? You got a car seat? That's illegal, bro. Where are you taking these kids? That's illegal.
If you get in a traffic accident, those
Where
kids
are you taking these kids? You have a car seat.
That's illegal.
How is this Christian?
Hey, we need the police over here. They got a bunch of kids without their car seats. You're violating Texas law.
Who is this right here?
Hey,
You have no comment.
You got those children in there illegally.
You're about to run a human being over. Hey,
You got those children in there.
Who are you?
You got those smuggled children illegally.
Who are you? Where are you taking these children?
Smuggling children.
Are you a part of
You
this
got to be legally in that vehicle.
You're not a part of this organization? Who are you? Where are you
We know you're smuggling these kids.
Where
Now
are you
got
taking
them
these
in
kids?
the back of there without children
Where are you
seats.
taking these kids? Sir, identify
This is
who
a
you
massive
are.
smuggling.
This is literally human smuggling. These are children. Where are you taking these kids?
And now,
sir.
Y si está tan peligroso, ¿por qué dejó a su mujer? No la mandó mejor a ella. ¿Tu hija? ¿Y la mamá? ¿Y la mamá? ¿Por qué se quedó ella? What appears to be two more males. ¿Y la mamá? ¿Por qué se quedaron las mujeres? ¿Y usted, señor? ¿Viene solo con su hija? Look at all these men right here. ¿Tienes sueño? Bastante cansadita. ¿Estás cansada? 5. ¿Sí te trataron bien, mi reina? ¿Tu mami? Ya te fue, chiquita. Pero ¿esa es su hija o es adoptada? ¿Es adoptada? He says that's her adopted. He says that's his adopted child. It's crazy. He just said she's adopted. Yeah, little girl, how depressed she looks. Look at that body language.
How easily a young girl can become a victim of human trafficking.
Immediately when I got in the car, I knew something was off.
Simone Miller was only 16 when she was kidnapped and trafficked by a man she had just met.
He was just like, I'm a pimp and you're my hoe and I'm going to take you somewhere. You're going to be given instructions on what to do and running is not an option.
She was taken to a hotel where other women were being held. Simone says the man who told her he was a rapper when she first met him warned her if she tried to escape, he would kill her mother and her grandmother.
If anybody knows me, like that's like my weakness, you know, because like my family is all I have.
As days went by, Simone was desperate to get out of this situation.
What can I do? And I just like played along and I had him thinking like I'm okay with it. You know, I put on this red lingerie.
The pimp let his guard down, and when he took a shower and left his cell phone on the bed, Simone made a quick phone call to her mother.
And I said, Mom, and she said, baby, where are you? And I said, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at, Mom. She just said, tell me what you see, Simone. I said, I'm like looking out the window of this hotel. I said, I see like a 7-Eleven. She's like, okay, what else do you see? I said, like I don't know, a Church's Chicken. She's like, okay.
Somehow, with that brief description, her entire family hid different locations, searching for Simone until they found her outside of a 7-Eleven. Her captor was inside buying cigarettes, unaware his victim was about to be rescued.
All I could think was when this man gets out of this 7-Eleven, it's gonna be trouble.
Despite everything he put her through, Simone protected him, telling her family he wasn't the man who kidnapped her.
I still know that it wasn't right what he did, but I got in the car with him. You know what I mean? And I just I didn't want them to kill him in front of me. And I kept saying, no, that's not him, that's not him.
It's been many years since that horrific experience. Simone is now a crisis interventionist at the Teen Project, a nonprofit that helps survivors of human trafficking.
It's healing. Subconsciously, I'm healing by helping.
After Tanya was sold for the third time, she realized that she had come to Turkey pregnant and was starting to show. Her new owner noticed.
My pimp said, "You're going to have an abortion." I said that I didn't want to, that I wanted to have the baby. He said if I refused, he'd make my life hell, and I'd end up with a miscarriage anyway. He forced me to have an abortion. 5 days later, I was sent to a client. You know, they just stuck a sponge inside me to stop the bleeding and sent me to work.
So human trafficking, it's a $150 billion industry. It's worldwide. It's a worldwide issue and problem. The reality, though, it's here in Los Angeles. This is where open trafficking is happening, the #1 spot in the city of Los Angeles. It's known around the world. Kids as young as 12 years old are being found on this street. Open trafficking is happening down here. Kids are being recovered. And that's why we do what we do. Prevention, rescue, restoration. We support law enforcement. We're actively out here trying to stop the open trafficking that's happening, and our team moves in and begins to work with girls who are recovered or placed in our home.
Stop and listen. You guys, I just heard of a new human trafficking technique that is really scary. My friend was shopping at Target in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she was approached by a very friendly girl around her age, and the girl complimented her, "Oh, your leggings are so cute," and they got to talking, ended up exchanging numbers, and the girl asked, "Oh, we should go get coffee sometime." My friend decided not to go get coffee because of COVID, but the same thing happened to her a couple days later. Different girl, different compliment, same outcome. Let's go get coffee. And she said that they were very, very pushy, like very wanting to go get coffee. And she thought it was kind of sus. So now we know there's a new tactic. These people are coming up being very friendly, and they're trying to get you to go to coffee so that they can take you. So be careful about who you're friends with.
Santa Monica Pier is the perfect spot for families and tourists. It's also the perfect place to pick up girls who are being trafficked. Kiana Monroe was once one of those girls, looking for signals from men.
A lot of girls are hidden in plain sight. A lot of transactions happening in plain sight. One of the things that we had to pay a lot of attention to are the gestures when we would go out as groups to be sold in pairs. We would pay attention to ear movements or, nose signs, tipping of the hat. Something that would suggest that's who you go with.
Her childhood was stolen at just 12 years old. The former straight-A student was bullied, and to protect herself, she hung out with the wrong group of girls. She was a preteen the day she ditched school with a girlfriend who told her they were going to a young boy's house. But the home was filled with adults, and one man kept saying 2 words over and over.
She'll work. She'll work. And the first thing they did was say, "Well, go try her out and take her upstairs."
They owned her for the next 2 years. They'd transport her on buses around LA to meet men.
I've been molested on the bus, on the actual bus. And you normally sit in the back of the bus, and no one's really paying attention.
They also made her travel to wealthy neighborhoods where they could charge more.
Yes, in Beverly Hills, in Bel Air, Pacific Palisades, in places where you would least expect it, with people that you see every day in corporate America and in places you would never assume.
Kiana was 14 when she finally escaped. She cut and dyed her hair and went to live with her grandmother, yet pieces of her were still gone.
And not only do you steal a child's innocence that way, but you steal their voice and you lock it up in a box and they feel like they don't have their own key.
Now, she's a key part of building self-esteem in young girls. She created the Pretty to Me Foundation, where girls write love letters to themselves and create crafts in sisterhood.
I do this because this is something I needed growing up.
She's teaching them to LYF, love yourself first. It's her definition.
I am a real victim of Jeffrey Epstein. The reason you don't see me in the news is because I am a real victim. Real victims are not being represented by attorneys or in the media. I was trafficked to Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Windsor by Deborah Palfrey, the DC Madam. I was a student at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. in 2002. I answered an ad in the city paper. The ad was ambiguous. Deborah was professional. I thought I was going on a real job interview. Instead, I was drugged and raped by Paul Hung. I tried to tell Deborah what happened, but something she said made me realize she knew what happened. At that point, they had my driver's license, and I did not know what to do or where to go for help. At that point, I was driven by Jonathan Luna to the Bethesda Marriott on Pook's Hill, where Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Windsor drugged and raped me. I have tried to get help. I called the police. I was abducted for 2 weeks. I was moved from Washington, D.C. by Ed Norris, who was the superintendent of the Maryland State Police. He is now an actor on the show The Wire and has a radio show. My name is Jessica Collins. I live in Virginia. Today is September the 3rd, 2019. If anything happens to me, it's because this information is true, and I have a lot more information about who I was trafficked to in the government, people who are in the White House today. If you could redistribute this video, please save it and redistribute it. If anything happens to me, at least I have this out. I have been threatened. My car was disabled by a government employee when the Jeffrey Epstein news broke. I have been without a vehicle for 40 days. I don't know what else to say. Please save this video. Please redistribute it. Please try and spread it. There is no way that this is going to get out there in the media unless we, the American people, do the work. The government is involved, and I was trafficked for nearly 17 years. Please try to help by redistributing this, tweeting it, talking about it. I'll do everything that I can. Thank you for listening. I hope that together we can get to the bottom of this and hold the criminals accountable.
She was live again. Watch this. She needs help.
It's the most notorious brothel district in Cambodia, where Cambodian men go when they're looking for sex with the very young. It's also a popular destination with foreign pedophiles.
Looking for a young girl? Yeah.
This squalid shantytown is no place for the ordinary tourist. Just those who come to pay for sex met by those who want to sell. Just how young would be revealed within minutes inside one of Svay Pak's many shopfront brothels. First to be paraded is a girl who claims to be 14 but looks younger. Next, a 10-year-old, clearly frightened and confused as her innocence is bargained away. Yum yum in the vernacular of Cambodia's sex trade is oral sex. The children repeat these words like a mantra.
What?
A few minutes later, yet another 10-year-old called in from the street to offer herself up. Although she's tiny, the pimp assures me she understands what is expected, and for $10 will perform oral sex. In Svay Pak, it's a trade from morning to night. Tonight the children are already waiting. They swarm forward, competing with each other to offer themselves up. Ten years?
No, 10.
11.
Yeah.
11 years. They're brothers. The children squabble over who will go with the foreigner. This is an adult game. Money is the prize.
I am located in Wisconsin. I was kidnapped at the age of 15 by an older white male that was 5. His whole family is from this little town called Ripon. They treated me like a slave. The whole town did. He kept me in a room, like food under my door. I'm 23 now. I ended up having 2 kids with him at the age of 16 and 17. I got out. My 2 kids. The court system, they had a hearing without me, with him being with a minor, and they fined him $500 and didn't even tell me that there was a hearing. They had that hearing when I was 17. I found out when I was 18 with the judge that ordered that. And I said, hey, I didn't tell my story. He says, well, you were abandoned when you were a kid, and it was consensual, so we're not reopening it. But mind you, I was kidnapped. I got out of the situation. The court ordered him to have the kids every other weekend, pay child support. It owes me almost $30,000 in child support. It's not about the money, no. It's about my son tells me he's being abused. He gives me full-on detail. He gave the police detail. He gave the doctor's detail. He gave CPS. CPS didn't even want to go to the guy's house, and they kept denying the request. I reported to CPS like 6-7 times over the course of years because he's had them for 2 years and he lives in a shack. I need your support. I'm sticking up for the minorities, the people that were kidnapped, my kids. They're being abused, and now he wants them 50-50 in the court. He knows everybody in the court system, and mind you, they are all family. This needs to go nationwide.
Excuse me. My name's Lori.
All right.
I just think you're one of the most beautiful girls I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
Could I buy one of those things for you?
Oh, no, it's okay. I'll be fine.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you engaged with someone or involved with someone?
No, I'm not, but
I'm not either.
I'm only 17, so.
Okay, well, that's a good age to be.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not quite that.
All right.
I got injured about a month or so ago. My knee is kind of, I'll show you, it's kind of banged up. I get bitten by a tick, actually. Maybe you can guess which one is bad.
Oh, I have no idea.
You can't
No,
tell?
I can't tell.
It's the right one. Anyway, I live out in the country, and I got a bunch of stuff that I was kind of trying to keep up on for work, but it's kind of falling behind. I'm looking for someone to help me.
Oh, okay.
It's a paying thing, but it's basically involves getting my stuff out of the garden and processing some things like tomatoes and that kind of stuff.
Right, right. I'm getting a phone call. I actually have to go.
Okay.
There's a theory that the online gambling girls are slaves or human traffickers. This girl can't even keep her eyes open. There's more of them.
She keeps blinking because she's so tired. She can't even keep her eyes open. She's sleeping. She looks exhausted. This is weird.
In December, I had gone down to Miami. My friends and I were just like, we're gonna get away. When I get to the airport, I start hearing the announcements speaking about human trafficking. Ubers stay at certain locations where they know people might be getting off a boat drunk, where it's easy, like hot girls are gonna be there. Right. I'm telling the Uber driver, my window's not opening. I see him put it down like 40%. I see him click the button to child lock it. I'm literally saying I'm gonna throw up. I don't feel well from the boat. I drank. Like, please stop on the side. And he's like, no, mamacita. That was my cue of like, I'm jumping out of the fucking window. The gas station was the most petrifying feeling for an Uber driver who's human trafficking. I'm a liability right now. I have the ability to report him and like his life is over. Right. So me being out in the streets, out in a gas station doesn't make it more safe. Never in my life looked past like, oh my God, a male is driving me. Like, I wonder what he could do to me. And now like, it's been a journey.
Yeah, but inside this 3-star motel, this what really freaked me out up here by the front door. Not this. See, the latch is broken. This what freaked me out. Right by the front door. The fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
Traffickers target children in their own homes. They find them by combing through social media profiles looking to spark a conversation. The trafficker targets preteens and teens by finding an end, something to bond over and earn their trust. It could be the promise of a modeling career. They might buy them drugs or alcohol, or provide protection from an already dangerous situation at home. Traffickers gain psychological control and use violent threats to force victims to stay. Once the child is isolated from family and friends, the trafficker puts them up for sale. This is where the demand comes in. Traffickers use internet sites to connect with buyers or Johns, but calling them Johns is too polite. They are abusers. They are purchasing kids for sex. So who are these buyers? Court records show they've been teachers, pastors, cops, and judges. They could be the guy next door. The trafficker gets the money. The buyer gets sex. The child victim gets exploited and sold. So how is this different from prostitution, pornography, or other sexual acts? These victims are minors. Legally, they cannot consent. This isn't the movies. It's not like Pretty Woman or Taken. Richard Gere is not the buyer. Liam Neeson isn't there to save the day. This is sexual exploitation. This is trafficking.
Look, this is the real picture of child trafficking by human traffickers. Two men and women on motorcycles are eyeing a little girl walking alone in the street, always ready to strike when no one is around. Watching little girl walk into a convenience store, the two men also followed closely behind. At the moment, simple little girl does not know that she has been targeted by traffickers, still asking the boss if there are rainbow lollipops. But the owner of the store said the counter was sold out. Ask her if she wants the other varieties. But the little girl said he only wanted that flavor of lollipop. So the boss had to go to other counters to help her find out if there were any more. However, just then the trafficker was still at the door spying on the little girl's every move. Really can't imagine is still in broad daylight and dare to be so rampant. After a search for the boss and did not find, so he and the little girl said to go to the small warehouse to look for. However, while the boss was walking away, the traffickers immediately went over quietly, then pretend to look around and deliberately pick something. Subsequently, he walked up to the little girl and pretended to chat with her to get acquainted. Watching the little girl let her guard down, trafficker immediately said he was a good friend of his mother, and said her mom and dad should be at work right now. Ask her if she wants to go to her aunt's house for dinner after the shopping. Fortunately, the little girl did not fall for it, politely rejected him. However, despite this, traffickers did not give up. In order to make the little girl trust him more, he once again used the words of warmth to give her a kind of care. Said he opened a clothing store not far away. You are the daughter of Aunt Friend. I want to send you a few pieces of clothing as a gift. Just when the girl hesitated, the boss suddenly came out. Seeing the owner of the small store come out, the trafficker immediately turned his head and pretended to go to the shelves to select goods. And the little girl wanted the rainbow lollipop is out of stock. Just as the boss was trying to get him to pick out other snacks, the traffickers who suddenly passed by the door immediately made him notice that something was wrong. So cautiously walk over to check the situation. From demeanor of two men, the boss should have known what they were. Subsequently, he rushed to the counter, take out an ice cream to the little girl to let him hurry home. However, never expected that just when the little girl was going to leave, the traffickers immediately followed and prepared to attack her. Fortunately, the store owner found timely run ahead of the traffickers, ready to escort the little girl home. The traffickers also realized that they were found and had to choose to give up. So parents must tell your children, don't talk to strangers freely outside.
There was a little boy who approached me, who was about 11 years old, and when he approached me, he was selling me gum, candy, cigarettes, and it was about 11 o'clock at night. And I asked him, hey, if he'd like to sit down and have dinner with us, and he said yes. I asked him, did you eat yet? He's like, no, I haven't. I said, okay, well, come on, sit down. And I literally handed him this menu, and as he opened the menu, he started just going through the whole menu, and 5 minutes went by, and I thought, man, this kid's so picky. And I said to him, hey, listen, whatever you want, this is on me. And he looked up at me with these like puppy eyes, and he said, I can't read. And I looked into it just a little bit more, and I found out that he was brought from Chiapas, which is about, I don't know, maybe about 8 to 10 hours away from here. And that's where most of the children are being trafficked from, and they're brought to Oaxaca, and the labor traffic begins.
Hi. Guys, I'm so nervous doing this right now, but you need to know that I really, really need your help. These are my younger brothers, both of them above, right there, not the little one. But in 2011, they were kidnapped in Honduras. We believe that they were trafficked for labor. We have looked for them. They are missing flyers out there. EquiSearch is involved in helping us look for them, but it's been so long and we have had no luck. So now I'm telling my story to you guys so that you can help me find them. All I'm asking is, have you seen them and where? And if you have not, please share this video, because maybe someone that has will see this. We're desperate to find them, and we just want them back home.
From like 9 p.m. till 4 in the morning, I was raped. They took breaks and told me I had to refilm scenes. I tried to run naked from the hotel room at one point. I was physically shoved back, and there was someone outside of the door. I didn't even make it to the door. I said, fuck you, I'm not doing anything else. And they're like, oh, then we'll put everything on the internet that we have right now with your full name, or we'll send it to your parents. Do you want them to find out?
Hey, so what are we doing today?
I don't know.
I want him to be black. Black color and black eyeshadow and red lipstick.
Well, I mean, she could decide her own.
No, I want it to be black. I want her to be black, no more blonde.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, due to the pandemic, we do have to have you wait outside.
Okay.
Are you sure you want to go all black? Because that's, just do as he says. Don't make trouble for me. Well, I mean, it is your hair. Just do as he says. Okay, all right. Go to the bathroom and put a smock on, okay? I'll meet you right back here.
Hi, I'm with a man and I need help.
Okay, is he available for a friend?
No, he's not.
Okay, right now are you in a secure area?
Yes, I am.
Okay, call 911 and the police will come out there to help, okay?
Okay.
I had one trafficker tell me one time that when they got the girl, a young girl, that they would rape her over and over and over until she would have a very high temperature. And that's from the semen and all the abuse on her body, that she would either die or she would overcome that temperature, and then she would be a more usable product to him because she could sleep with more men at over a time, and would be a product that would last. I just thought, my goodness, if that was my 8-year-old, my 9-year-old, I wanted to kill that man. But he was speaking the truth of what happens. They'll take a girl and rape her hundreds of times to produce a better product for themselves.
April 8th, 2022. The Dallas Mavericks were hosting the Portland Trail Blazers. Kyle Morris and his daughter went to the game just as they had many times before.
We've had season tickets for the last few years.
Their season tickets were in section 221, just below the suites. Morris says just before halftime, his daughter left her seat.
She said she's got to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, she's 15 years old. I'm like, we've been here countless times. And I'm like, go to the bathroom.
That would be the last time Morris would see her that night. They say security cameras at the AAC captured what happened next.
Less than 2 minutes after she gets up and walks out, the guy in the suite leaves the suite and goes down the escalator.
The Morrises say these surveillance photos show the man walking and talking with their daughter. Brooke Morris says the girl was lured out of the building under false pretenses.
Let's go hang out until the game's over, and then, you can get back to your dad.
Back in section 221.
Absolute panic.
Kyle Morris says he was flagging down security officers, including an off-duty Dallas police officer. They searched the building, but did not find her.
I'm just counting on these security officers to tell me what to do. I was following direction.
Those directions were to report the 15-year-old as a runaway, not in Dallas, but where the family lived, 30 miles away in North Richland Hills.
There was a part of me that was like, why are you going home? She's there somewhere. But then he said, well, that's what the police were telling me to do.
Dallas police tell the I-Team that is standard operating procedure for parents to report runaways to their home jurisdiction.
Say we live in Houston. Say we live in a different state and we're just in town. They literally would have had us go file with our local.
But it didn't happen in North Richland Hills. These individuals were not in North Richland Hills. They were in Dallas.
Days turned into a week. Then a Facebook friend suggested the Morrises try a new tactic.
Call this guy. He can definitely help you.
We're in a fight, and it's a fight for time.
J.B. Rice is the executive director of the nonprofit Texas Counter Trafficking Initiative, which is based in Austin. He asked us not to show his face to protect his ongoing investigations.
He goes, send me a couple pictures of her.
What identifying features she had, markings, tattoos, piercings, just the whole nine, height, weight.
I'll call you back if I get anything. Okay, thank you so much. Didn't even think I would hear from him.
But she did. He called back just a few hours later, around midnight.
And he's like, I think I found something. He shows me these horrendous websites, and there she was. And my jaw just fell to the floor.
Rice had combed through prostitution ads online. He found the 15-year-old in an advertisement in Oklahoma City. The post claimed she was 21, saying, I am here from Dallas, visiting, looking for some company.
And he said, this is actually a good thing. And I'm thinking, how is this a good thing? This is the most terrible thing I've ever seen in my life. How is this a good thing? He goes, because I know where she's at and I know how to get a hold of her.
Rice managed to get in touch with Oklahoma City's Vice Unit early that morning. The Morrises say officers moved fast to find their daughter.
Within 3 hours, they were able to figure out which hotel it was, and they were able to plan an operation to recover her within 3 hours. And mind you, this has now been a full week since the situation happened. Dallas police still hasn't even taken a report.
Oklahoma City police pulled surveillance video from the hotel and saw the girl had been there, but she was gone by the time they arrived. It would be another 2 days before an officer spotted her walking down the street.
He didn't even put two and two together because she didn't look like her pictures. But he said she stuck out like a sore thumb.
The officer took her to the hospital, and that's where the family reunited for the first time in 10 days. Brooke says her daughter was shocked to see them come through the door.
And I said, "Did you not think I would come for you?" And she said, no. She goes, "I didn't think you knew where I was." And that's when I found out. She only had found out she was in Oklahoma, I think, within the previous 24 hours. She didn't even know where she was.
As soon as I walked in, our daughter just started sobbing. All I saw was like our 4-year-old little girl laying in that bed. And when she was crying, I got up to her and I hugged her, and she was hugging me, and she said, "Daddy, they hurt me."
And she said, "They took advantage of me."
And she said, "You were right about those times that we had talked to her about this type of stuff, being a real thing to worry about."
That 10 days of trauma has forever changed their daughter. Now they're hoping to save other teenagers from the same fate.
Just be where you're supposed to be. Just be where you're supposed to be, where your parents think you're supposed to be, because these things can get so far out of your realm of control in an instant.
Oklahoma City police have made 4 arrests in connection to the trafficking case there. 3 of them have been convicted and are serving time. A 4th is awaiting trial. Doug?
You as a mom, me as a dad, and so many parents watching this can't even begin to fathom what transpired there. Talk to me, though, about the latest on the Dallas case, because they mentioned that. Is there any movement there?
There has been some, Doug. Dallas made its first and right now only arrest in January. It's a 33-year-old man who is now charged with sexual assault of a child. Investigators say he was seen walking around the American Airlines Center here with the girl. At this point, he has not entered a plea, and we have not received a comment from his attorney.
And in this case,
if a girl would try to scream and shout or something like that, I know that I would do my utmost to shut her up. You just think of how much money this girl can make me. And you don't care what she needs to go through in order to get it. Since it's mafia, they know before you walk into that room and start seeing with your eyes how is it operated. They know where you live. They know where your parents work. They know if you have children. They know about your sisters, your brothers, they know everything about you. They don't leave nothing to chance. They're stone cold people. No emotions. You have to be like that if you want to do something in this world.
If they don't like you, they don't just kill you. They'll kill your wife, your children, your brothers, your sisters. Sometimes they'll let you live. And that's the way they work around the world. It's all an issue of fear and intimidation.
How did you escape?
Yeah, so we would frequently move hotels and hotel rooms, and a hotel employee saw this group of young girls getting in a car with these 2 older gentlemen, thought something didn't seem right, and so they contacted law enforcement. Unfortunately, the state that I was in is one of half of the states that charge children with prostitution. So even though I was abducted and trafficked, the police arrested me. I was arrested and charged with prostitution and aggravated money laundering for taking money from the buyers and giving it to my traffickers.
And did they offer any resources to help you or anything, or?
No.
How long were you in prison?
Yeah, so I was held for 40 days in this maximum security facility. My 2 traffickers each served 10 days for their crimes. They took plea deals. My main abductor, the one who I spent the most time with, he has never been to prison, and he is not a registered sex offender, as he is not seen as a danger to the community.
So that was the scene. That was the sickening incident that took place. That's been reported that he was a homeless person. Think of all the priorities a homeless person has. Way beyond kidnapping a 7-year-old child, a 7-year-old girl. Shelter, food, fluids, blankets. Why on earth would a homeless person want to kidnap a 7-year-old girl? You have to connect the dots and work out for yourself what he was planning to do and why he thinks that way. That should be all over the national press. The UK news outlets, the mainstream media, should be reporting on that and warning us of what's to come, what lies ahead, what to fully prepare yourself for, because they're coming your way. But they haven't done that, which is no surprise. And if the mainstream media aren't going to report on atrocities like this and appalling incidents that puts us all in grave danger, then we have to rely on the good people of the British public to publish this story themselves. I urge you to share that clip. Share this one, crop it out, post it on your own social media. But whatever happens, the onus is on us. We have a responsibility to keep each other safe. And we all want to spread love. We all want to spread love and positivity. But in order to spread love, we have to stamp out the hate. And that incident doesn't get any more hateful or perverse. Let's get the message out there and be prepared for what lies ahead.
Oh my God, you guys.
What?
That's the sign for help.
What?
She just did the
Which
sign
one?
for help.
Which
The
one?
girl with the black jacket.
Oh,
With
come
the,
on, let's
the
go.
guy with the
Let's
white
go.
hoodie,
Let's
yeah.
go.
Go help. Go help. Go, hurry. Don't be obvious. Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm so freaked out right now. Hold on, they're coming. Yeah, hold on, shh, don't. Oh my God, go. Go. Mom, get out of there.
A Central Georgia man has been indicted on some pretty alarming charges tonight. Police say he's accused of trying to sell a 16-year-old girl on the dark web. We want to turn now to Atlanta News First anchor Carly Barnett. She's really been digging into this story for the last couple of days, finally able to share this with us tonight. Tell us what you know.
Tori, this is a very disturbing story. I went through the arrest warrants and the indictment. The man on your screen right now, Kelly Garrett Ivy of Forsyth, was indicted in Jasper County. According to the arrest warrant, the alleged crimes happened back in June. Ivy was denied bond on July 11th, with the judge saying he posed a significant danger. And this past week was indicted. Now, those charges include cruelty to children in the first degree, cruelty to children in the second degree, trafficking of persons for sexual servitude, and 3 counts of criminal attempt to commit a felony, including kidnapping. Now, according to the arrest report, Ivy, quote, attempted to sell information about a 16-year-old female, home address, as well as places she attended regularly on the dark web in order for her to be abducted, assaulted, and otherwise harmed. The website, which is called Slave Bay, quote, featured images of unclothed women on the same page as said ad. And in said ad, the accused did offer to sell information as to the location of the victim, a person the accused listed as a 17-year-old virgin female, and the accused claimed to have home address and places the victim attended and did post several other images of her on the advertisement. We spoke to the executive director of Street Grace. That's a Metro Atlanta organization that fights to end sex trafficking.
Have very open conversations with your kids because they are experiencing all kinds of things through their phones. And if we aren't willing to talk about that thing with that child, they're just going to assume it's normal.
Well, Street Grace offers training and educational resources. We're going to link to their site in this story on AtlantaNewsFirst.com, which will be up shortly. According to a local paper there, the Monroe County reporter, Ivy, supposedly knew of the victim through a church that he had previously attended. Tori?
Carly, disturbing allegations there, but helpful information.
Over 2 million children are trafficked every year around the world. Child trafficking is quickly becoming the largest criminal industry, grossing an estimated $32 billion every year. Sound of Freedom tackles the reality of this issue by telling the story of Tim Ballard. Based on true events, the film...
Before I ever caught a single predator in my life, this was the beginning.
Oh my God.
Because the owner of the website happened to be a Democratic politician and ran for Congress 2 times.
You're basically hunting down these people that are exploiting children sexually on the internet and in person.
Yeah.
I know you have a couple of horrific stories. One guy that was, I think it was his daughter in the bathtub.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll start, kind of where that all came from. I was at a friend's house, and I got a text message from my friend's wife, and it was multiple photos of screenshots of this website that was. It was clear from the screenshots that the website was on the regular internet; anyone could access it. And should I name the website?
Yeah.
It was. It's no longer up, but it was rapey.co. So rape. EY.co. Then that website went down, and it ended up being rapey.to, like T as in Thomas, O as in Oscar. So I see this website, and I see the content in these screenshots that my friend's wife sent me. She doesn't know anything about computers, but she has kids herself, and she was like, "Can you do something about this?" And I read this content, and one of them was talking about a mother that wanted to have kids and then have the kids be raped so that when the kids grew up that they could, have incest and go even further. I mean, I'll pull up the screenshots because I'd like to explain like where my head was at that time. But as soon as I read these messages, I guess a switch flipped in my brain, and I left my friend's house immediately as I got the text, and I went home. I didn't know for sure that I was going to be able to get into this website. I just knew I wanted to do something about it. And I found a vulnerability in their platform. I got in, and from that point on, I started to exfiltrate the data every single day, all of the users. I noticed that a lot of people were soliciting child pornography on the site, so I didn't want to download those messages in case of the fact that I pull in some images that I'm not allowed to have, and nor do I want. So I made sure to only download the publicly facing stuff, which didn't include. It had some very graphic text, but it didn't include anything illegal, which I think it should be illegal to talk that way. But it was horrible stuff.
What were some of the... So you started this basically from a text conversation with a concerned mom. That's what got you into it.
Yeah.
Everyone out of the car. Let's start taking them back to the cars. Have IDs? No? We're going to start heading back there.
Come with me.
I'll come. Don't touch me.
Just start walking back there. They don't need to go in handcuffs. We just need to get them out of here.
Go ahead, come right here for me. Come over by this car. Go ahead, stay right there for me, okay? Just do me a favor, keep your hands out of your pockets for me, alright? Do you guys have names? I'm Deputy Mitchell. You want to tell me your name, or just so I know who I'm talking to? Okay.
Hey, are you good to watch these four?
Yeah.
This is this one in the dark blue.
Okay. There's no one in the trailer? Ma'am, just keep your hands out of your pockets for me, okay?
Take your ignorant from him. We can check everything out. And who else has ID?
I got this one.
Do you guys have
Got that
any?
one there.
Any other ID? Nothing? You don't have ID cards? How old are you? 14. How old are you? 11? How old are you? 12? You? How old are you? How old are you? How old are you? You don't have to say, or you just following her? Okay. Okay, ready? On, two, one. Go, 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 go!
Monsieur sont en train de gagner là. Avec gagner. Ok, d'accord. Go ahead. Right. Front block, and we'll become that perimeter. Just block. I'm a citizen of America.
Put a light on it. Put a light on it. These are condoms. Put a light. Put a light. Who's got a light? Condoms. These are all for the huge bag of condoms.
Can they grab all this evidence?
Yeah, we gotta grab all.
Okay, the miner's on scene. He's got condoms. He's got sex toys. He got condoms in there.
Wait, put a light on it.
Oui, là, allez. Et monsieur, fais rapide. Qu'est-ce que c'est que vous faites ça? Dis-le, on l'a encore?
Avancez. 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 Laissez-moi vite.
ça, bon, j'ai fini. Par contre, bagage comme ça. Jean, ouais, m'chita là, c'est comme ça, m'chita. Et yo met. Par contre, quoi, ça, m'a pas fait mentir, par contre, quoi, ça. Donc, là, m'a fait mentir, m'a fait mentir sur quel mot. M'a fait mentir sur quel mot.
So let me get one thing straight. Disney is okay with releasing a movie about a girl who gets pregnant by the devil, yet Disney, Hulu, Amazon, and Netflix all refuse to stream Sound of Freedom. So Disney is okay with portraying a satanic love story, but not okay with bringing awareness to child trafficking. It took Tim Ballard years to get this movie finally streamed, because all of these streaming services did not want to stream his movie. Make it make sense.
Now these girls, how old are they?
I'm doing 13 to 15 years old.
13 to 15 years old.
Right, that's what I'm doing, 13 to 15.
You're watching footage of an alleged child trafficker negotiating with someone he thinks is a customer, but the purported buyer is actually an undercover agent.
Y a él le gustan así, como te dije, le gustan pequeñas, frescas.
This remarkable video is featured in a new documentary featuring ex-CIA agent Tim Ballard and his team of highly trained operatives who crisscross the globe, rescuing children from sexual slavery.
You know, I sometimes like to use the term child sex slavery, where they force them to do sexual acts on video. And I'm talking, these kids are as young as 7 years old or younger.
Tim is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad.
We have to pretend to be sex tourists, talking to taxi drivers.
This movie finished a few years ago. Why are we just seeing it? Can you tell us about that?
Well, we finished it 3 years ago, and I thought, well, finally, 5 years of work. Now this movie is about to see the light. But you know, every studio passed, Netflix, Amazon, everyone said, this is not for us. This is not a good business for us. I said, guys, what if this is your son? Just close your eyes for a second. What if this is my son? What would you do? What would I do? I'll stop everything that I'm doing, and I will hope the entire world will stop everything they're doing so they can help me to find my child. This is about ending child trafficking. We can do this together. This is not for us. So for 3 years, until finally I was praying for an angel to come and rescue this film, and Angel Studios came and rescued this film, and because of them, millions of people will see this film.
My sister was trafficked for 6 years. We didn't know that it was trafficking while it was happening. It took me about 8 years to really comprehend what my sister is telling me men had done. And I'll never forget, Nick, I don't talk about this often, but I was driving in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I stopped at a red light, and I saw a scene across the street. And the scene I saw, I was like, well, that's what my sister told me they would do to her. And so I witnessed for the first time in the US around 2003, 2004, this scene that was a human trafficking scene. I was like, wait a minute, no way, surely not here, right? Well, come to find, #1 place on earth, right? And I just kept hearing this phrase by God saying, not another one.
The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Se acerca nuevamente la mujer donde está la y otra vez se retira. Está lista para completar su misión. La señorita de la tienda arregla las compras de la niña. Ya se dio cuenta de lo que sucede y rápidamente actúa. Agarra a la niña y la devuelve hasta la tienda. La mujer se sube al carro y se va. La señorita de la tienda le dice a la niña que algo estaba por suceder. La agarra de la mano y se la lleva. Esta reflexión es para que tengamos mucho cuidado con nuestros hijos, no debemos mandarlos solos a hacer algo que nosotros como adultos podemos hacerlo.
Johannesburg, South Africa. In the clip, two women are seen sitting together with a young girl at the Bella Napoli Italian kitchen.
We were sitting outside and there were other customers here. There was a lady with her 2 kids.
What she did to save herself and the essential conversation every family should have with their kids.
This morning, the chilling moment a little girl fights off an alleged abductor.
And now here's the question. How many of the kids that are being human trafficked actually get discovered? We're finding this 5 here, 6 here, these
But how many actually are there?
How many of them actually are there? Do we know? We don't, right?
We don't.
Just the fact that it's a real thing is spooky as fuck.
It is.
When a car pulled up and greeted her, he asked her a suspicious question.
No.
Amy knew just what to do. Yell no and run into her home.
I believe that he was looking for a child to take.
A survivor's perspective on Sound of Freedom. Hi, I'm Grace, and I am a survivor of trafficking. And I went to go watch the movie Sound of Freedom, and just even in the word Sound of Freedom, the title of just the movie, it was so appropriate because nobody understands what that really means. The sound of freedom. There's so many times in my life where I was waiting for somebody to knock on the door and save me. Or the buzz would finally end, and what it felt like to be sober. So no one really thinks about those things unless you survived it. So the sound of freedom means so many things. And as I watched it, it's, for me, it's been quite a while. I have gotten the help that I needed, the healing that I needed, but it's been a long journey. And my heart always goes to these women and these children, because after they have been rescued, it's just the beginning. They have to, the healing begins, and that is a journey.
it's been a long journey for me. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful that lots of groups have really collaborated and gotten together and are doing something about it and bringing awareness to trafficking. And so I just want to thank everyone that is taking the stand. Because, trust me, they're waiting for us. They are. To finally hear that sound of freedom.
Speak with a woman who was asleep in her seat. Then as the train approached the Morrison Avenue Soundview station, you see the man pick the woman up and bring her to a bench at the station.
Notice when I'm walking up on my car, this guy is like darting away from my car when my car alarm started going off. I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to think about it. Maybe it just like scared him or whatever. Because like, who the fuck would think a car alarm is going to go off, especially if you're not tampering with the car, right? So as I get closer to my car, I see him like walking in circles, kind of like in the parking lot in front of my car and a few other cars. And I'm like, that's sus. So I got in the car and I locked the doors, craned up the car. I was texting my friend to let her know that I had just came out of the movies because I had 2 missed calls and I wanted to make sure everything was okay. I'm so glad I locked my doors. Girls, as soon as you get in your car, lock your fucking doors. The man that darted from my car was wearing a gray sweatsuit and a hat that was like covering his face. He like had it pulled down really, really far. He kept on looking at the ground. I saw him walking near my car and my doors are already locked. Y'all, this man started pulling on my fucking door handle on my passenger side. Like this guy tried to open up my fucking car door. So I beat the horn real fast and he like starts walking away and walks to the right or the left of my car, like around the other cars. And my mom pulls up and she's like, hey, I'm about to go get your sister. Like she's in her car. She rolls down her window. She's like, I'm about to go get your sister. I was like, okay, well, you need to be careful because that guy just dead ass tried to open up my fucking car door. She goes, what do you mean? I said, Mom, he dead ass just tried to open up my passenger side door. So she's like, okay, then we all need to go. Y'all, I pull out of the parking spot and I go to the left because that's the way to get out of the movie theater. And I'm following right behind my mom. This man got in a white SUV. Not a small SUV. One of those big white SUVs.
Centoria was 16 when she shot and killed 43-year-old Johnny Mitchell Allen in 2004 after he solicited her for sex. Prosecutors calling her a cold-blooded killer. Her defenders arguing she was a teenage victim of sex trafficking. Brown was tried as an adult and sentenced to life in prison with parole possible in 50 years.
I thought he was reaching for a gun, so I'm like, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's done. It's gonna murder me or rape me or something.
Yeah. And then what did you do?
I shot him. And it's like all these thoughts all of a sudden rushed in my head. What have I done? What am I doing? What did just happen?
Look at how they walk black people into the courtroom.
Against sex trafficking. Crystal Kaiser was 16 when she met 33-year-old Randy Voller, the man she is accused of killing and then setting his home on fire.
Good morning.
Everybody that you shot at,
White America.
you intended to kill, correct?
I didn't intend to kill them. I intended to stop the people who were attacking me.
By killing them?
I did what I had to do to stop the person who was attacking me.
By killing them?
2 of them passed away, but I stopped the threat from attacking me.
By using deadly force?
I used deadly force.
That you knew was going to kill?
I didn't know if it was going to kill them, but I used deadly force to stop the threat that was attacking me.
You intentionally used deadly force against Joseph Rosenbaum, correct?
Yes.
You intentionally used deadly force against the man who came and tried to kick you in the face,
yes.
Correct? You intentionally used deadly force against Anthony Huber, correct?
Yes.
You intentionally used deadly force against Gage Grosskreutz, correct?
Yes.
With regard to Joseph Rosenbaum, you fired 4 shots at him, correct?
Yes.
You intended to kill him, correct?
I didn't intend to kill him. I intended to stop the person who was attacking me and trying to steal my gun.
So how old are you now?
16.
16.
Mm-hmm.
And do you still have contact with your family?
No. Some of them, yeah, but
But does your dad know you're out here?
he knows what I do.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
Has he tried to intervene or anything?
Yeah. But he just really minds his own business. He's not really worried about me.
So you've been doing sex work for how long?
Huh?
You've been working as a prostitute for how long?
Since I was kidnapped in 2017.
Since you were 14 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And where did you go from Oklahoma? Did you start working there? Or?
In 2009, I moved to California. And I didn't start working until I was kidnapped. I didn't know nothing about any of this.
So this guy is like following me in Walmart while I'm with my daughter. He's following me. I don't know him, and he's following me and recording me. Now he's gone after he realized I started recording him. Fucking weird. So I just found a worker and I showed her the clip that I just showed you guys, and she agreed. She thought it was really weird and really freaking creepy. So the manager is coming over here now so I can show him the video, and they're gonna find this guy and get him out of here. I don't know if he's just some weirdo. I don't know if he's like on drugs or drunk, or if he's part of some trafficking thing, but always be aware of your surroundings and record. And
the lady with the red car is about to be kidnapped. The two gentlemen you see in the picture have been watching her, following her, they've stalked her. She's more concerned about her shopping rather than being aware of what's happening in her immediate surroundings. And even if she is aware of these gentlemen, she doesn't perceive them as a threat because bad things don't happen to people like her. You can see now as she gets in her car, one of the kidnappers gets in the back seat. Why? Because the doors are open. At this point, he's most probably pulling a knife, pulling a gun on her, and she's panicking. Even though her car door's open and she could run and she could flee, she's panicked. She has no plan. She doesn't know what to do in this situation because bad things don't happen to people like her. This situation and many others could have been avoided with some basic situational awareness and some basic planning and preparation. It's not being paranoid to worry about your personal security, it's realistic. Your personal security, your life is your responsibility, nobody else's.
And it's not just in Atlanta, but especially in Atlanta. This is one of the capitals of human trafficking. My little cousin was supposed to be going to Vegas, and somebody just snatched her up while we were out here looking for her already. You know, her mom was already trying to find her after a few hours. Now we're in the airport with police and everything, and somebody just threw her on her flight to Philly. We find her, turn around, and somebody took her out the airport. I don't know what happened to her. My baby was found in a dumpster today. But God did, though, because she's alive. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, it's better for everybody that she was found alive. But I'm gonna say this, you know how many people gotta be involved in human trafficking in this airport and the airlines? Because how did she get on the flight without no ID, without no verification, without no boarding pass, without no ticket? Everybody wrong. Let's see. Who's the wrongest overall is the airports and the airlines. The first legislation I ever tried to write was about, and you can Google, verify before you fly. I was telling people that, screaming with Senator Donzella James, why is it not any type of, verification for kids getting on planes? You know how easy it is to snatch kids and throw them around and take them all different types of places, anybody's kids. And we have an international wing now. See, we caught up with her real quick, but how many don't?
The girls are shaking. A 20-year-old girl in Georgia was found kidnapped and locked in a cage. Let's talk about it. So there's a trailer in Richmond County, Georgia. This is the trailer right here. The former owner of the trailer came back to get something or work on it, to do something with the trailer. When he came back, he found a 20-year-old black lady in a cage covered in human feces, animal feces. Now, this lady down here, Shayna Powell, was in control of the whole thing. She said that she was holding the girl captive because she owed her some money, and she was going to pimp the young lady out until she paid off her debt. When the owner called the police and the police came, there were a couple people that I'm going to show you in a second that came out of the house. That lady, Shayna Powell, was having people come over, have sex with that lady. When she was found, the police said that she was very scared, battered and bruised, black eyes, swollen face. She was found naked in that cage, and that at first she wouldn't come out. She was very scared of the officer. She was reluctant to get rescued. That's how emotionally, mentally damaged this lady had been. As of right now, they are not saying how long that the lady had been in there, but she had been rescued. She was described as a lighter brown lady, 20 years old. They're not saying if she was big or small, but she was locked in a dog cage. Now, the people that were there, some of them even being of teenage age, even though they were adults. So some of the people that were found in there about to sleep with her, they came over to mess with her, were like 18 and 19. The report says the police arrested Angelica Figueroa, who was 29, Savannah Piazzi, who was 18, and Dawson Weston, who was 19. Now, there's 5 people here arrested. They got DeMichael Dawson, who's one of the occupants, who was 24. He was the owner of the 3 pit bulls that was there. Because like I told you, they said it was animal feces too. And then, of course, this lady, Shayna Powell, who was running the entire operation. Now, Lord knows how long or where they got this girl from. But since Shayna said that something was
one of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Our future is our children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
I was sitting there on this chair, looking at this little girl in her eyes. She was looking at me like I was going to defile her. And everything in me wanted to say, no, it's not gonna happen. You're gonna see your parents again. And I couldn't say that. I said, está bien, it's okay. And we had to go back in the house because we needed to keep negotiating with the traffickers and wait for the signal. Now, once we had all the information put together for the sting, once we had asked them all the questions, then we're supposed to order tequila. Once we ordered tequila, then the federal agents who are acting as our waiters, they go back in the kitchen area and they radio in, and boom, all of the agents were supposed to come and rush the island and arrest everybody. And so we ordered tequila. It was supposed to be 2 to 4 minutes before we were all surrounded. We ordered tequila. Hey, party starts. 2 to 4 minutes, nothing happens. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, 25, 30. It was 45 minutes later before the agents actually stormed. And what had happened, we found out later, the lady who was in charge of the Child Protective Services, she like slept through her alarm or something, and she wouldn't let the boats go and do the raid without her there? I mean, we didn't know this though. We were sitting there going, what do we do, right? What do we do? I walk up to her and I said, ¿Cómo se llama? You know, what's your name? And she says, $10, like $10 to have sex. And I said, no. And I explained in my broken Spanish that I have a friend, wealthy friend in the U.S., coming down looking for things he can't find in the U.S., some younger children for his party. And I said, I'll pay you $20 if you can get me in touch with somebody. She goes, oh, no, I don't know anything about it. I knew she knew something. So I'm walking down around the corner and 2 minutes later, she comes down. She goes like, come here. Follow her, I grab one of my guys, we go up around this other alley down this corner, and there's these two wooden doors, and these guys sitting out in front with their arms folded, and she talks to them, and they say, oh yeah, this is what you want? Yeah. So I pay her the $20, and I give them some cash, and they open up the doors, and there's a little girl that just turned 15 that was sitting there, and some younger ones inside. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what our boss wants. I gave him some extra cash, exchanged contact information with them, and made sure we weren't being followed. Went back to the safe, the van the federal officer was in, and I had geotagged the location, and he said that's exactly where that girl said she was being sold out of. I knew there was something still going on.
Disney is a child trafficking and sex cult. The truth.
The fact Richard W. Cook, chairman of the Walt Disney Studios, was on the Lolita flight logs along with 2 unidentified females. Or maybe it goes deeper than that. Disney cruises were running excursions to Little St. James Island. This provided the perfect cover for trafficking child sex slaves to Epstein's pedo island for the elites to abuse. Step 1, fill a cruise ship with thousands of children. Step 2, add a few dozen slaves for transport. Step 3, take ship to destination island and unload. No one notices unaccounted slaves arriving at their destination, and no one questions regular trips of ships full of children to your island. Isn't it all starting to make sense? Disney is a huge child trafficking and sex cult. Ghislaine Maxwell, September 13th.
She was selling children as young as 6 years old. You remember she had a party set up. It was like a product testing party. She wanted us to see all the kids that she had. This woman was bragging to us about how at these parties, they'll have a doctor who will be there on site to literally, and I'm sorry this is raw and horrifying, but you need to know this is the world of human trafficking and child sex slavery. But this doctor would stitch up the kids after they're brutally, torn apart. Oh, they'll be back in service 6 to 8 weeks. And she's talking to us like we're going to like this because we're going into business with it. Like we can get them back making money.
Go ahead and Google child sex trafficking and see what pops up. You're going to see this, and this. If you go back and look at those clips, what you'll notice is that almost every single one of them is white. And that ends up misrepresenting what the reality of human trafficking is in this country. If we look at child sex trafficking victims, over 50% of them are actually Black American kids. And we see this misrepresentation elsewhere. If we look at Native Americans, we find that they are grossly over trafficked, especially in the states where there's a high amount of reservations. You'll see upwards of 20 to 30% of the individuals who are trafficked in those states are actually Native Americans, while only making up, at best, 10 to 20% of the population. If we look at massage parlors and into fields and landscaping, we'll see that Asians and Hispanics are also over trafficked compared to the representation in society. What it adds up to is everybody besides whites is disproportionately trafficked in the U.S.
Are you paying attention?
I get this intel about this orphanage. We're actually looking for an American citizen child who had been kidnapped in Haiti, and all evidence led to this false orphanage. And I remember working with the police, and they said, we don't know what this place is. It wasn't a registered orphanage, so they're clearly selling kids. I'm standing at this gate under the instruction of the Haitian government to go in undercover. I have cameras all over me, and I'm going in to look for this one little boy we're looking for, but they said, look, if they're selling kids to you, you have to buy one, and that will catch them in the act, and we'll know what their intent is, what they're doing. So something happened outside that gate. I looked in, and I had never seen so many kids. My defenses let down, and I started having this occurrence that I'm supposed to fight, which is I start seeing my kids' faces again. And I'm like, okay, standing outside the gate, let's do my practices, let's do my meditation, get it out. And something told me, I think it was God, don't do it. And I was so scared, because I'm like, am I going to freak out? So I walk into the place, and within minutes, they're offering me this, whatever I want. I was like walking to a pet store. This one's beautiful, this one does this. I turn around and I see this little boy, and he didn't see me. I was looking at the back of his head, but something happened. Some cool spiritual connection, because this little boy just about faces, looks right at me. He's about a year and a half, throws his hands in the air and walks over to me. And I pick him up and I hold him. And I just felt this call. Like, this is the one you're supposed to buy. So I walk into this outbuilding, and the deeper I get into the belly of this smelly, dark edifice, the quieter it gets. And I flip around, and there's this beautiful child with a bloody gash over her eye. There's a lot of abuse happening. The teacher, there's a guy named the teacher there who literally carried a whip around his neck. So I'm curious, there's this little girl, and she's looking at me like pissed, like she's gonna scream or something. So I give her a candy bar, and I tell her, take it outside and eat it outside, which always works. You know, I have a bunch of kids, this works. But this little girl does something I've never seen a kid do. She takes that candy bar and she cuts it in half. It was like muscle memory, not even thinking, and placed the other half of the bar into this little boy's hands. And that's when it hit me. This little boy is her little brother. So I kneel down and take both their hands and tell them, it's the first time I ever broke the cardinal rule of undercover operations by revealing who I was. And I told them through the best Creole that I could and a little English, and they got it. I'm on your side. I'm not taking your little brother. We're staying together. You're staying together. We end up getting to the hotel. The deal is done. Money's exchanged. The cops come in, arrest everybody, and it's awesome. It's a great thing. They raid the orphanage, get the other 26 kids out and into good homes and good places. And I call my wife that night. I hear this silence on the other line as I tell this story, and she says, where are their parents? So the parents are dead. Where are they going to go now? Well, they're going to go to an orphanage in Haiti that's at least safe. They're not selling the kids, at least. And she said, I can't let that happen. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I want to be their mother. I said, are you crazy? We have 6 kids. I just quit my job. We have no savings. And she's like, I don't care. That has no bearing on this decision. When I feel it, I'm going to do it. We worked on it for several years. And brought Colleen and Colleen, my brother and sister, home, and they're now our family. And it was the...
Disney spent $300 million resurrecting Harrison Ford and releasing the summer blockbuster. But there's another movie dominating the box office. It's called The Sound of Freedom, and it beat Indiana Jones on opening day. The film's based off the true story of Tim Ballard, a former Homeland Security special agent who saved kids from an international sex trafficking ring.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
So you quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
This movie zeroes in on the multi-billion-dollar human trafficking industry and honors a hero, someone who saved children from sex slavery. But to the media, this person isn't a hero. Someone who rescues kids from pedophiles is a villain.
These films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites.
For some reason, the entire media is smearing this movie as a dangerous conspiracy theory. The press is saying that the star, Jim Caviezel, is a QAnon guy. And Jim plays Tim Ballard, which is strange because just a few years ago, the same media was celebrating Tim Ballard's heroics. Watch.
Tim Ballard has one mission: to track down child traffickers. 4 months ago, Colombian authorities asked him to investigate a tip that children were being sold there as sex slaves.
Within a half hour, this individual walks up to me, starts asking me what I'm here for, what I want, and within minutes, he says, well, I've got kids as young as 11 years old.
So why is the media warning people not to see a movie about child sex trafficking? It's based on a true story. Well, the Spear Fund founder, Tim Ballard, joins me now. So, Tim, why is the media hating this movie?
You know, I can't understand it. The film was made, produced, written like 5 years, 6 years ago, way before anyone heard the name QAnon. I still don't even know what QAnon is. In the meantime, they're trying to connect it to some conspiracy when, in fact, like you said, this is a true story. These are real kids. I mean, these kids are my friends. They're young adults now, the ones that were rescued. They're going to come out soon and tell their story. It's going to be very awkward when the mainstream media comes after these kids next and accuses them of being part of some conspiracy when, in fact, they were rescued from a life of rape. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in the media, perhaps.
I mean, this publication says The Sound of Freedom is a superhero movie for dads with brain worms and that it fetishizes the torture of its child victims. Is that what the movie does?
It absolutely does not do that. It tells a story based in truth. And, you know, what I think is happening, Jesse, I think that the left and these media outlets, they don't want to have a discussion that this film is going to compel. A discussion about why 85,000 children showed up unaccompanied at the border and got released into the interior of a country that is the highest consuming country for child exploitation material on the planet. They don't want to talk about why these same publications are pushing an agenda to change the word pedophile to minor attracted persons in order to normalize sexual activity with children. I think that's what they're trying to avoid, and they know this film's going to shine a light on all of the things, all the atrocities happening to children, and so they have to discredit it by lying about it.
So what would their motivation be to discredit a movie that's trying to shine a spotlight onto atrocities committed against children?
Well, if the truth of human trafficking and child exploitation were to be brought to bear, brought to light, then they would have to have a debate, a discussion that they don't want to have about, again, these policies around sexualizing children or allowing children to consent at a young age to do anything and everything, which would eventually include being, you know, identifying as an adult perhaps and having sex with pedophiles. I hunt pedophiles. I've been hunting them for 20 years, and they are watching this and they're salivating. They are happy that Rolling Stones and The Guardian are ripping on a movie that exposes them. So I don't like the fact that these media outlets are, in fact, wittingly or unwittingly, running interference for human traffickers and pedophiles.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen the movie yet, but now I want to see it because this thing made such a splash. Tim, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck at the box office.
Thank you.
Epstein Island is not the only sex island out there.
Right.
Listen, we gotta love our children more than we fear evil. In this film, the line that comes out over and over again, that God's children are no longer for sale. And that's what they are quaking in their boots on. That once the public awakens to this, those people will never be able to walk down the street ever again.
They don't want to talk about the fact that there's 85,000 unaccompanied minors who came to our border and were released and lost in a country that's the highest consumer for child sex material. That's scary. They don't want to talk about the fact that teachers' unions are providing what we would call pornography to third graders. right? I used to be able to arrest people for providing the material to children that teachers are currently giving to kids under the guise of sex education. They don't want to talk about 13-year-old girls being able to consent.
We have a book that they have in grade school.
Oh, I know that one. Yes.
That teaches children how to use adult sex apps.
Yes, I'm very familiar. I just posted on this.
There was a teacher who gave middle schoolers, 10 to 12 years old, a book called "This Book Is Gay." It's the title of the book, and in it explains how to use Grindr. Why?
On what, page 182?
Yeah. Now that one we can't show either. That's
you can't show some of these pictures. I'm telling you, I could have arrested people for giving this to kids back in the early 2000s.
As it should be.
And now teachers are giving it to kids. Yep. They don't want to talk about this. And then you know what it leads to? Consent. Pedophiles have been pushing consent. Kids should be able to consent. I've studied pedophiles. I've hunted them for 2 decades, right? And they have platforms. They have literature. Kids should be able to make decisions for voting, for whatever they want to do. Why are they saying this? Well, because they want them to have legal consent, to have sex with a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, whatever. You know what this whole trans voice, and again, I'm libertarian for adults. Do what you want to do. I will fight for your right to choose to do that. But these are children. And when you let a kid consent to gender mutilation or consent to puberty blockers, you're an inch away from allowing them to consent to, you've lost the argument.
But this quite literally is one of their big arguments. There have been numerous writers in what they call the queer movement who have talked about children consenting. There are prominent activists who are making this argument.
What I saw was so shocking, Jordan. I thought child sex crimes would be 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. My brain couldn't comprehend something more evil than abusing that age. The very first case I worked in 2002, I believe, I was given a bunch of VHS videos, some hard drives to look at that had been seized in a warrant. The very first image I saw were there were three little boys that were probably 7, 5, and 3, and they looked like my children. They had blonde hair, blue eyes, and they were being just raped, these 3 little boys, by this pedophile. And I was so shocked. I fell to my knees. I dry heaved, thinking I was going to throw up into the wastebasket. I jumped into my car. I drove to my children's school, my 3 oldest kids. I checked them out. I still remember in my mind, I can still see dentist appointment I wrote. And I grabbed them. I took them home and just sobbed on the floor. My wife came in and I wouldn't let the kids go. I was just holding them and shaking. That was my very first experience. You talk about PTSD. I absolutely deal with PTSD to this day.
And soon it's gonna pass the drug trade, and you wanna know why? Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time. But a child, the most precious child, you can sell a 5-year-old kid 5 to 10 times a day. For 10 years straight. And everyday ordinary people, they don't want to hear it. It's too ugly for polite conversation. But meanwhile, over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. Trust me, man, if we do nothing, their pain is gonna spread and spread. Till someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. And that will be a nightmare you're never gonna wake up from.
How many pedophiles you caught?
As of today, 288. Not so bad.
How many kids you found?
It is a high probability that most of those kids are outside of the U.S., Chris. So, our job is to get the pedophiles. And that's it.
It's a messed up world, right?
You know, we film our operations. I mean, I'm going to post today another operation in West Africa of a baby factory. I mean, these are real cases where they've kidnapped women, as young as 13-year-olds and children, and they impregnate them, they rape them, and they make babies, and they take these babies and sell them for their organs, sell them for sex, sell them for satanic ritual abuse. Like, it does sound crazy. That's why I film it. Our operations, we film our operations so that we can show the world this is very real. It's really happening.
He goes, Jefe, you already paid $25,000. You want to F a virgins? It's going to cost you maybe $10,000 more. I was so mad. He's talking about these children like they're commodities. I've got my nice shirt on. I've got a nice watch on. I'm posing as this guy who can fund this deal for him. And I put my hands on my chest and I said, you don't think I can afford an extra $10,000? He said, oh, no, Jefe, no. I said, I want every one of those virgins at my party. And I said, they damn well better be virgins when they get there. They're not for you. They're for me and my guys. He goes, oh, yeah, Jefe, I understand. This stupid smile on his face. 2 weeks later, we go back in. We meet with the U.S. Embassy, the Colombian federal agents. They provided all those agents, 40 agents. 4 of them were our maids, 4 of them were our waiters, 4 of them were our cooks. And we're sitting there with the traffickers out there, and these guys showed up with 54 children. Almost every one of them were under the age of 16 years old. Some of them were trafficked from other countries. And we put the children in a separate place so that they're already traumatized enough. We don't want them seeing the guns and the money changing hands and everything else.
We looked across the street and this red door opens. And what had happened is one of the cops went the other way. Instead of going towards the arrest, went the other way because he saw something. He saw the red door open and he saw someone go in or something, and he runs in there. Now what's interesting about this cop is in the minutes before we hit the targets, Jacob Justice, one of our camera guys, who was making sure we got all the footage of the operation, jumps to the back of the van that I'm in and takes this duct tape and starts wrapping the duct tape around the guy's helmet, this Haitian cop's helmet, and putting this little GoPro camera. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, it looks like crap. Like, it's like, I don't know, this guy needs a camera. Well, that happened to be the guy who made the right instead of the left and went into the red door. And you saw the footage, like, I've never seen this before. Like, he goes into this red door, that was Cho's place. And Rosie was in there. And he got footage of the actual sexual assault happening inside this horrible dungeon of a place.
Hey everybody, I'm Dana White. There's a new movie out called The Sound of Freedom, and it's about human trafficking. More importantly, the trafficking of children. This is a disgusting, horrific issue that's happening all around the world, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give any of my UFC employees that want to see this movie free tickets to go see, and I would like to encourage other executives to do the same at their company. Here's Mel Gibson with some more information on The Sound of Freedom.
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
The fact that Netflix defended cuties but said The Sound of Freedom was not for them.
Bro, they're even human trafficking us in the metaverse. They're enslaving us and human trafficking us in the metaverse. Let that sink in. It's like an innate thing. Bro, like how the fuck you turn enslavement into a culture? You can't be around any culture without enslaving it.
God bless you all. Yeah, if you watch this whole video, I know your eyes and your heart is just down by what's going on in the world. You know, it makes you cry, makes you sad. But I just wanted to make you pray. I wanted to make you pray for these that don't know Christ, these evil savages out here in the world. Pray for even them, that they change from their wicked ways. Pray for the kids, children, that people that's tied up right now in bondage and being raped and molested. Pray for them. And just we just got to trust God. God's going to get vengeance. We leave it in his hands. We pray. We spread this gospel. Spread the truth. Spread the light. Spread the love. And protect children. Protect children. We got to. They're trying to, on the LGBT bandwagon, is where the pedophiles are trying to be a plus on that to add more perversion to the world. They're trying to get rights to molest children. And they're trying to bring the consenting age down. They want to bring it down from 18 to 16 to 13 to little kids. This is the world we're in. When all this perversion starts coming on the scene, more perversion is to come. That's why this world is going to be destroyed by fire. All this evil in the land and the wickedness, it has to be ended. And I'm glad God's hand will end it when the time is right. Until then, pray. Till then, love. Till then, spread the light, spread the gospel. You got a duty to do. You have a job to do. And it's to spread this gospel. Tell your neighbors about how good Jesus is, what he's done for your life. Tell your neighbors, we're in the end of the world, the end time. But there's a rapture to come where Jesus will meet us in the clouds. That's in, I believe, Thessalonians, I want to say. I believe it's Thessalonians. But please subscribe, like, subscribe, share, comment. And go see that movie. Yes, I meant to plug that movie, Sounds of Freedom. If you haven't seen Sounds of Freedom, go see it. It made me cry. It made me tear up. It made me cry. I can say it did. It really opened my eyes to what's going on with this human trafficking. I never knew it was so bad. Please go see the movie Sound of Freedom. Support it. And God bless you all. God bless you all. And pray. Pray for these little ones. Pray for these human traffic. Pray for the prostitutes to change from their wicked ways. Because we don't know what brought them to it. They might have been human trafficked. Just pray, 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 and read your Bibles. Go to church. Find a good church. Join a church. God bless you all. Love you all. Till next time. I'm out.